You see, the other day I was reflecting that I wasted years not memorizing the Quran, especially when I was younger. And I know that there's a lot of people doing that right now because now I'm actually seeing what it's required to memorize and I'm kind of engaging with it every single day. And I'm thinking I could have just done this way earlier. I could have started way earlier and I would have been done by now. And once you feel that feeling of regret just once, it really motivates you that you don't want to feel that again. You don't want to, be 3 years in the future, a few years in the future from now and think, man, I could have actually memorized this whole time, but I never really did it. And I think if you're watching this, you're probably in this boat as well, where you may have had this desire on and off throughout your life, but you never really kind of tackled it head on or actually like attempted to go full in on it. And when I think back on it, a lot of the reason I never started memorizing was really because I had the wrong perception of memorizing Quran. I thought in order to memorize Quran, to make big progress in your hifz, you had to start when you were like 3 years old or 4 years old, or you had to be like in a really intense school, or you had to be abroad or something like that. And you had to, engage in all these kind of maybe extreme tactics. When in reality, now that I've kind of, grown up and actually engaged in it for quite a while now, I realized that this stuff was all just not true at all. And that's what was holding me back, was literally just thinking and having the wrong mindset about it. You see, and for me, this mindset really changed when I started to meet people who were just like me, but who also memorized the Quran. Those people I met who were like my age, who went through the whole Western school system like me, looked like me, talked like me, like had the same everything as me, but they just memorized the Quran. So it kind of broke the belief that, I had to have this extreme background, or I had to do something crazy to even engage on this path. So trust me when I say there's really no difference or nothing holding you back probably. There's people who, look the same way as you, from the same place as you, went through the same education as you, maybe even have worse starts than you, but they've completed the Quran. And this goes for all excuses that you might hear people make. Some people might say, I'm too old. There's a lot of old people who completed memorizing the Quran. Some people might say, I work like a real intense job. There's a lot of people who do that, who also memorize the Quran. And just from every domain, college student, high school student, young kid, from old, whatever the background is, there's someone who's memorized the Quran. So it kind of leaves you thinking like, why can't I? But the thing is, even after adopting the correct mindset, I still kept making mistakes on this hip journey. One of them being is I wanted the result, but I wasn't really caring for the habit. You see, I romanticized the idea of memorizing Quran and maybe me potentially being able to complete it, but I never actually treated it like a real system or a real schedule, like, we treat work or school or something like that. I was treating the Quran more like a hobby and not a priority. Just whenever I felt good, if I got like a little boost of motivation, I would start memorizing. But if I didn't have that, I would just skip it. But the turning point came when I actually started treating Quran like a legit system. Before I would go to sleep, I would begin factoring it into my routine. So I knew exactly the next day, when and where I was going to memorize. I would start timing my sessions. I would start knowing exactly where I left off from, the places I need to strengthen. This is actually what I think the main thing that's holding people back. It's not necessarily you can't memorize or you might be struggling in some areas you think you're struggling in. It's honestly that you're probably not treating it like a legit system. And that doesn't just mean you got to memorize for 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day or do something crazy like that. It mostly means you're not actually knowing exactly where you're leaving off, knowing exactly the pain points in your memorization, or knowing exactly the weak spots or the places that you need to, revise back to. Because if you don't have this and then you start doing the muraja and the revision for what you've memorized in the past, and then you see you're forgetting a lot of stuff, it can become really, really discouraging for you on this hip journey. This used to happen all the time where I would memorize something and then just quickly forget it and then get mad at myself, not knowing it was totally natural and that I just had to revise back to it and just follow the system I was creating for myself. And lastly, just being a victim of your emotions regarding memorization. You only memorize when you feel really motivated, but you don't memorize if, you're not feeling it that day. You got to do it day in, day out. Or maybe you get discouraged a lot when you forget something and then it kind of throws you off and it maybe decreases your desire to want to memorize. When in reality, you have to just treat that as a part of the process because everyone experiences that. But trust me, it definitely doesn't stay as difficult as it might be for you if you're in the beginning. If you're on Juz Amma or something like that. When I'm thinking, that was actually the most difficult part compared to, now where you have more experience, you have more knowledge about the entire process. It becomes much more easy to deal with. So just know the excuses you might be making or all these kind of limiting thoughts you might have in your head, that's really just you. That's the only thing that's holding you back. Because if you were to actually put your head down and try, I can guarantee you from someone who I didn't really have any advantages like that, right? And I still, alhamdulillah, made really good progress so far. So there's really no difference between me and you. If anything, like I said, I started with a worse background. There's really people from all walks of life who've completed their Quran. People from they're busy to they have a lot of free time, to old people, to young people, all across the world. So there's really nothing stopping you. But inshallah, that was a benefit. And feel free to join our school community, by the way, if you want a kind of a community who's all on this journey together, inshallah. It should be in the description. And salam alaikum.